I was holding a chilled glass of champagne, soaking in the quiet of my new beach house, when my phone rang and ruined the moment. It was my son, Brandon, sounding like he expected the world to bend to his whims, as usual. 24 hours later, my beautiful home was overrun with strangers, tracking sand across my polished floors, like they owned the place. If you're watching, hit subscribe and tell me where you're tuning in from. Let me rewind to how this mess started. 3 months ago, I sold my company, Sterling Solutions, which I'd built from scratch over 30 years. The sale left me with $2.8 million after taxes, enough to buy my dream beach house on the Outer Banks and leave the corporate grind behind. The house was perfect, 6,000 square feet of cedar and glass, perched on the dunes with ocean views that made my heart sing. I'd been there just 8 hours when Brandon called. No congrats on retiring, Mom, or love the house. Just, Mom, you need to move to the upstairs guest room. Melissa's whole family is coming tomorrow for a 2-week vacation. Her parents, her sister's crew, her brother, and his girlfriend. 11 people total. I laughed, thinking he was joking. Brandon, this is my house. We can plan a visit, but I'm not moving out of my bedroom. His tone turned sharp, like his dad's during our divorce. Their flights are booked. They're expecting the master suite and main bedrooms. You'll be fine in the guest room. I was stunned. This was the son I'd put through college, bailed out of 2 failed restaurants, and helped with his mortgage when his design business tanked. Now he assumed I'd just roll over. Brandon, I bought this house to enjoy my retirement, not to run a hotel. His voice went cold. Mom, you've got this huge place to yourself. That's selfish. If you won't share, there's a nice assisted living place down the road. The threat hit like a punch. My 35-year-old son was saying I'd better obey or be shipped off. What if I say no? I asked. Then we'll have to rethink how much help you need at your age. A big house like that might be too much for you. I hung up, sat on my deck, and watched the sunset turn the ocean gold. The view should have calmed me, but all I could hear was Brandon's smug tone. He thought he'd trapped me, that I'd cave like some helpless old lady. What he didn't know, after 30 years of running a business, was that I play to win, especially when someone thinks they've already beaten me. The next morning, I heard car doors slamming at 7 a.m. Melissa's family had shown up early, no warning, like I was running a bed and breakfast. From my window, I saw a parade of rental cars unload. Melissa was barking orders, directing luggage like a tour guide. Her parents strolled out in fancy vacation clothes, acting like they owned the place. No one knocked or checked if it was okay to barge in. They just marched toward my bedrooms. I slipped on my robe and went downstairs, curious how they'd react to seeing me. Oh, Eleanor. Melissa jumped, then smiled. Brandon said you'd moved. Upstairs. Great. Mom needs the master suite, her arthritis. You know, her parents rolled their suitcases past me without a hello, straight to my room. Melissa's sister, Rachel, herded her teens to the upstairs bedrooms, while her brother, Kevin, and his girlfriend claimed the den's pull-out couch. Coffee's in the kitchen, I said calmly. Oh, we brought our own stuff, Melissa chirped, rearranging my pantry to fit her mom's special diet and the kids' picky eater snacks. She handed me a box of my own groceries. The garage fridge is fine for these. Brandon had clearly given them a full rundown of my house. By noon, my home was a disaster. Pool floaties cluttered the deck. Wet towels hung on my antique chairs, and the kitchen looked like a tornado hit it. Melissa's mom, Patricia, sat at my dining table, complaining about the show while her husband griped about my TV channels. Eleanor, he called, we need the Wi-Fi password. Got any drink umbrellas? The kids want smoothies. They expected me to be their personal assistant. I smiled, gave them the password, and slipped to the garage to make some calls. I called my lawyer, Sarah Chen, who'd handled the house purchase. Sarah, check the deed on my property. I need to know exactly who owns what. Next, I called my accountant, Jim, to confirm how the house was set up. Then I called Mike, a private investigator I'd used for business deals. Mike, I need background checks on my house guests' finances, jobs, social media, everything. Rush it by dinner. As they ate my steaks from the freezer, I had my answers, but I wasn't ready to act yet. Let them get cozy first. That night, in the tiny guest room, listening to them party below, I smiled. Tomorrow, they'd get a surprise. I woke to Melissa's family treating my kitchen like a buffet. Patricia had taken over my counters for her gluten-free, dairy-free spread. Eleanor, she said, not looking up, we need you to hit the store. Kevin's girlfriend can't have dairy, and Rachel's kid is allergic to everything. She handed me a 3-page list with demands like organic coconut milk, not the cheap kind. Instead of arguing, I took the list and drove to town. But I had my own errands. I stopped at the hardware store for a few things, visited the phone company to tweak my plan, and talked to my bank about account security. When I got back with their groceries, Kevin had rearranged my living room for better TV viewing, and Rachel's kids were doodling on my walls with my art supplies. You're back, Melissa said, not helping with the bags. We're throwing a big barbecue tomorrow, 30 people. Brandon's friends, some locals. You'll need to get steaks, burgers, sides. I texted you the list. A party for 30 in my house, no permission. Sounds fun, I said, keeping my cool. It'll be epic, she replied. Brandon said you don't entertain much, so we're putting this place to good use. My photos, books, and Mom's vase were already shoved aside for their beach vibe. That night, I made more calls from the garage. I rang Tom, an old business contact who ran a catering company. Tom, can you handle a last-minute event for 30 tomorrow? Money's no issue, but there's a twist. The next morning, Melissa's crew was buzzing, prepping their big party. They'd invited half the beach, promising fancy steaks and top-shelf drinks. Patricia took over my kitchen, criticizing my setup while using every counter. By noon, Brandon arrived with more guests' college buddies, who got my spare keys like they were checking into a hotel. Mom, he called. Hope you're ready for a real party. We've got big shots coming, business networking. This house is perfect for it. He was using my home to impress people. No thought to me. I spent the afternoon reading on the deck, watching them turn my sanctuary into a party zone. At 5 p.m., I went to get ready. They had no clue I'd planned my own show. By 6 o'clock, fancy cars filled my driveway, Mercedes, BMWs, Range Rovers. Strangers roamed my garden, drank my liquor, and lounged on my furniture. Melissa had redecorated, tossing my grandma's quilts over chairs and hiding my awards as too stuffy. Brandon gave tour, calling it our family property and saying he was managing it now that Mom's older. At 64, I was older. I chose a sharp black dress, perfect for delivering bad news. The party was in full swing when I stepped onto the deck. Patricia called. Check the appetizers, they're low. I ignored her and spoke up. Everyone, a quick word. The crowd quieted, curious about the lady they thought was just the mom. Thanks for coming to enjoy this beautiful house, I said, smiling. Brandon grinned, thinking I was playing along. I've got a few updates. Right then, a catering truck rolled in, not a small grill setup, but Tom's elite event crew with a mobile kitchen. What's that? Melissa asked, her smile fading. Dinner, I said. Since we're hosting such a big party, I went all out: prime rib, lobster, champagne. Brandon's face went from happy to worried. Mom, we got steaks. Save those for later, I said, turning to the crowd. Catering's setting up, so please clear some space. Tom approached. Miss Sterling, where's the champagne station? By the pool. Tom, use the Dom Perignon, not the cheap stuff. The crowd perked up. Dom wasn't barbecue fare. In 30 minutes, my deck was a fancy dining setup with linens and crystal. Mom, Brandon whispered, panicking. How much is this? Don't worry, it's handled, I said, not mentioning how. For now, I let them enjoy the $15,000 party, watching Brandon realize he wasn't in charge. The next morning, the fallout hit. Brandon and Melissa were at my dining table, surrounded by empty champagne bottles, staring at the $15,000 catering bill I'd left out. They were on the phone with banks, begging for credit limit increases. Good morning, I said, pouring coffee. How's everyone after the party? Mom, we need to talk, Brandon said, voice tight. This bill. Wasn't the lobster great? I cut in. Tom did amazing. We can't pay $15,000. He snapped. Odd, I said. I thought you were managing this property, like you told everyone last night. His face paled. He'd bragged about running the show, so the bill was his problem. Patricia shuffled out in my robe, holding my favorite mug. Eleanor, we need fresh towels. And the Wi-Fi's slow. Before I could answer, my phone rang. I put it on speaker. Miss Sterling, this is Janet from Coastal Properties. We got a call from Brandon Sterling saying he's authorized to sell your beach house. Silence. Brandon looked sick. Melissa froze. That's odd, I said. Brandon's not authorized to represent me. Should I call the police about someone impersonating me? Brandon waved frantically, but I ignored him. I'll get back to you, Janet. I hung up and turned to Patricia. Get out, all of you. Pack and leave my house in 2 hours, or I'm calling the police. And Janet, they scrambled, blaming each other as they packed. Patricia muttered about rude hosts. Kevin's girlfriend whined about their cut-short vacation. But Brandon's reaction shocked me. You're making a mistake, Mom. Those people last night were big connections. I was building something for us all. For us, I said. You mean the us you threatened with a nursing home? Melissa tried sweet-talking. Eleanor, let's work this out. Split the house time. Share costs like the $15,000 bill. You can't pay. I opened the door. 2 hours. As their cars left, my phone rang. Miss Sterling, it's David from Outer Banks Property Management. Your beach house is ready for its first renters tomorrow. Payments in. I smiled at the ocean. Perfect, David. These guests will appreciate it more. The renters. The Pattersons from Richmond arrived on time, a polite couple with 2 sweet teens who asked permission to use the pool. I told them I lived above the garage but moved back to my master suite. The $8,000 for their 2-week stay was just the start. Bookings were solid all summer. My home was now a business, and I was back in control. Then the doorbell rang. A woman in a suit held legal papers. Miss Sterling, I'm Rebecca Walsh, representing Brandon in a property dispute. He's concerned about elder abuse and your mental state after retiring. Brandon was claiming I was too confused to manage my life. Did he mention the $15,000 bill he ran up? I asked, or telling realtors he could sell my house. Her confidence wavered. Then the doorbell rang. A woman in a suit held legal papers. Miss Sterling, I'm Rebecca Walsh, representing Brandon in a property dispute. He's concerned about elder abuse and your mental state after retiring. Brandon was claiming I was too confused to manage my life. Did he mention the $15,000 bill he ran up? I asked, or telling realtors he could sell my house. Her confidence wavered. Let's have my lawyer join us. She's great with elder abuse cases, especially when kids exploit their parents. Rebecca left quickly. I called Sarah. Brandon's trying to say I'm incompetent. He's got a lawyer. Sarah laughed. He's got no case. We've got proof of his stunts, credit card charges, catering bills, realtor calls. If he pushes, he's in trouble. 3 days later, Mrs. Patterson looked upset. A man claiming to be your son asked about our rental and said you're unwell. Managing to bigger house, Brandon was digging deeper, spreading lies about my health. I thanked her and called Sarah. File everything, restraining order, harassment, elder abuse charges. Then I called Brandon. Meet me today, or you're explaining this to a judge. We met at Sarah's office. Brandon looked defeated, no trace of his smug grin. Sarah laid out papers, proof of his lies, harassment, and fake realtor calls. Brandon, I said, 6 months ago, you started planning to control my money, thinking I'd be an easy mark. Everything since threats, fake reports came from that choice. His face went pale. How'd you know about the lawyers? I know about the loans you took, betting on my inheritance. I know it all. Sarah slid over a financial report showing his debts and schemes. What do you want? He whispered. The truth, I said. When did you decide I was just a bank account? Did you ever see me as your mom or just a meal ticket? His hand shook. It started after Dad died, he said quietly. He told me you were too independent, that I had to take care of you. When you sold the company, I thought you'd waste the money. The beach house seemed like too much for you alone, so you threatened me with a nursing home. I asked. You wouldn't listen, he snapped. You were selfish, keeping that house to yourself. Selfish. I said I'd have shared it if you'd asked nicely. Instead, you tried to take it. Sarah cut in. Did your lawyers say Eleanor showed any mental decline? Or were you just shopping for a way to control her? Silence. I stood. Sarah, file everything, restraining order, charges, all of it. Brandon's not my son anymore. Sons don't try to lock their moms away for money, he begged. Mom, we can fix this. No, I said. You showed me who you are. Oh, and that $15,000 catering bill. It's yours since you claimed to manage the house. 6 months later, the Pattersons sent a wedding invite for their daughter, wanting to use my beach house. Weddings paid even better than rentals. Brandon sent an apology through his lawyer, asking for visits or counseling. Sarah replied, Miss Sterling has moved on and wishes you well, and I had. My deck, my ocean views, my life were mine again. I missed the son I thought I had, but I loved the peace I'd earned. My house was a haven for guests who respected it, not family who tried to take it. Sometimes the best family is the one you choose, not the one you're born with. And sometimes the greatest love is saying no to someone who'd rather control you than love you, especially when it's your own kid. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and share your story below. Your voice matters.